This is Gemara Nedarim Daf Nun Vav of Freilich and Chanukah, as we pick it up from the top of Nun Vav Amid Aleph with another wonderful Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Nedarim min Abayis, Mutter Ba'aliyah, Devir Amir. Someone makes a neder, I'm not going to enter into a bias, into a house. 1 second. Our Gemara just shrunk. There we go. It's a little bit better. Oh, 1 second. And there we go. Hanaydir min abayis. Someone makes a neder that he's not going to enter into a house. What's the halacha? He's allowed to enter into the aliyah, into the attic. Divir ameir. V'chachamim oimrim, no. Aliyah b'chlal abayis. An attic is included in the house. And Hanaydir min aliyah. Someone made the reverse. I'm not going to enter into the aliyah, the attic, to upper store. Mutter ba'bayis. And of course, this is a continuation of that which we've been discussing. And then Nedarim mahalich achar loshain b'nei adam. How do people generally refer to things? So says the Gemara, man Tana. Who is the Tana of the Braisa? That says, Bebayis, the pasuk says Lebayis, the rabbi says a Yitziyah. Then when the pasuk says Lebayis, that comes to include the Yitziyah. Bebayis, it says Lebayis, the rabbi says Aliyah. It comes to exclude the Aliyah. So which Tana in our Mishnah does the Rameir, or does the Tana Kama work within this Braisa? Amar Rav Chisda Rameiri. It's Rameir. Rameir that said he made an enter from a bayis, you'll have to enter into the attic, is the din of this Braisa. Di Rabbanon. Hami Rabbanon aliyah b'chal bayis. The Rabbanon said they made an enter from a bayis, you're not allowed to enter into an aliyah. So the Rabbanon clearly hold that aliyah, an attic, is included in bayis. So lovely krab abayis l'rabuye. So why would the pasuk need to say the second babayis the rabbis is aliyah? According to the Chachamim, abayis is an aliyah. It's included. So says the Gemara, Amar Abaye Amar no rayo. Afilu temer rabbanon. Keep it fit with the rabbanon. Ba'ikra. Still, you know why we need a pasuk? Tisal kedai dechamina. I would have thought, and from the fact that it said, similar to that which we learned yesterday, the day before, there's, Tvua and Tvua Sasad. There's Bayis and Beis Eretz Achuzaschem. And therefore, there would have been a Hava Mina de Mechaber Ba'ara Shemei Bayis. That which is connected to the ground is called a bayis, and aliyah holoi mechaber ba'ara. So even according to the Chachamim, that generally an aliyah is yes included in a bayis, there would have been a thought to say that here it's different because the pasuk says beveis eretz achuzaschem. Continues the Gemara, so we don't necessarily have a particular raya. Who's the Tanya of this Braisa? We continue about 10 lines down. The first line is Mechaber Kman Azlaha. Who is the following opinion? Damar Avuna Bar Chia Mishmei Deula. Bayis. The pasuk says, excuse me, not the pasuk. Someone says, Bayis bebeisi ani ma'ichlach. A house in a house I'm selling you. So what exactly is he selling you? Mar'eu aliyah. Is he allowed to then go and say, you know what I meant? I meant to sell you my attic. So says the Tanakama, yes. Tamei Mareu Ali, let us show in the attic. So explains the Gemara, seemingly, it sounds like it's because he said, a house within my house. And that's when we say that includes the attic. But if you just said stam bayi, seemingly you would not be able to include the attic. So says the Gemara, Lema Rameir, there seemingly is Rameir that says that an attic is not included into a house. Answers the Gemara, Filu Temer Rabbanon, my aliyah, me'ula, shebebatim. That you could say that over here the word aliyah is a different connotation. It means the me'ula shebebatim, the best me'ula of the house. We continue with the second Mishnah, the second half of the Vav and Aleph. Ha-noider min amita muter b'dargash. For all those who are wondering what a dargash is, stay tuned. The Gemara is going to discuss it. But you make a neder from a mita, you're allowed to get benefit from a dargish. No, dargish bechal mita, you make a neder from a mita, you cannot get benefit from a dargish. Hanoidim and a dargish in similar veins to the previous mishnayis, but in the flip side, you make a neder from a dargish, you're allowed to yes be mutter be mita. Ask the Gemara the question that's plaguing all of us, my dargish, Amar Ula, Arsa Digada, a bed of good fortune. And the Ran over here explains what is this Arsa Digada. This is around 3 lines from the bottom. The Ran says they had a minog to keep a bed, Lemazal Habayis, for good fortune, that it was Gada Mazal V'Daimala B'Seber B'Mei Isha Yoisis, Gadi V'Saniglo, the bed that they wouldn't sit on, they would lie on, they will leave it for the Malach of fortune of Mazel. So what is dargish? It's this, we'll call it this ornamental almost, this not usable, this bed that is sitting there waiting for such a malach. Amli Rabbanan L'Ula, so Rabbanan said to Ula, how can you tell me that's what a dargish is? We learned in the Mishnah, Kshein Mavrin Oisai Kolam, Misubim Ala Aretz. When they bring the Sudas Havra, when they bring the first meal to a mourner, everyone sits on the ground, Ve'ho Meisev Ala Dargish, and he sits on the dargish. Kulu Shasa, everyone drinks. Ask the Gemara, Kula Shata Lo Yosef Allah. Generally, you just told me, Ula, that what's a dargish? It's a bed that's not normally sat on. So says the Gemara, now in this pasuk, in this Mishnah, does it make any sense to say that in general, a dargish is not sat upon? Ahu Yaima, and on that day when he is an Avil, that what? Yosef Allah, all of a sudden now he's sitting upon it. I don't understand. This Mishnah is talking about when they fed the Jewish king, the Sudas Havra. But says the Gemara, I don't understand. If he never sat on this bed, why right now? Why B'Shas Havelos would he go and sit on the dargish? So 7 lines to the bottom of Nun Vavam and Aleph. The first word line is Allah. Maskiv lo Ravina. Now here maskiv doesn't mean he's asking a kasha, but rather maskiv lo Ravina, it's a counter argument. Ravina retorts back, Midei dahave abasar v'yayin. Is this any different than meat and wine? The kula shatam. The entire year, always. Ibayachal, ibay lo yachal. You eat what you want. You like meat, you eat meat. You like wine, you drink wine. But ahu yaima, on that day of Avelos, anani avinolai, we feed him, and therefore the fact that we feed him, it could be that a person is more prone to eat meat and wine on the day of Avelos. So similarly suggests the Gemara, even though you normally do not sit on the dargish, maybe here you would. So says the Gemara, okay. Pshat number 1 in dargish is out the window. Elah kasha. So says the Gemara, fine. You know what the kasha is? Meaning, kasha number 1 is out the window. The Gemara tried to ask a question, and the Gemara's question was from an Avel, that why, if you Ula are correct that a dargish is his bed of good fortune, we thought we had a kasha from Avel. The Gemara answered that kasha. So Elah Kashas, you know what the question is, to say that dargish is referring to the bed of this mazel, this bed of good fortune, Tanya. Dargish loya kafo ela zakfai. When they came to the dargish, we know the beds in Avel's house have to be flipped over. Says this brisa, but the dargish, they wouldn't flip over, they would stand it up. So the Gemara articulates 3 lines to the bottom of the Vavam and Aleph. V'i amrid arsa de gadu. If you're going to tell me that what's this dargish? It's a bed, but a bed that's not normally sat on. V'atanya, so why would you not flip it over? We learned in our brisa, koif es mitasai lo mitasai bilvadu koife elakol mita sheyesh lo b'zach habayasu koife. The brisa teaches that all the beds in one's house you have to flip over. So why would you not flip over this dargish? Haloi kasha. So answers the Gemara as we turn over to Nudvava Mebei, says the Gemara, that is not a kasha. Why not? Just like we find, if one is a bed that is designated for Kalim, the Tani, the Brisa says, so if it's bothering you, the mere fact that you're not flipping over the bed, that's not a kasha. We could still stick to our pshat that what is this dargish? It's better good fortune. The fact that you don't have to flip it over, that is not a kasha. So now 3 lines down in the Vav Beis Ali kasha. Says the Gemara, you know what the kasha nula is? Titania Rashba Goimer says in Shimon Gamliel. Dargish Amarte Karbitov Vunaifel Meilov. You know what happens to a dargish, says Rashbag? If you untie the loops, what will happen next is it falls by itself. So ask the Gemara, dargish arsa the gadu, but if this dargish is bed of good fortune, karbita miyeslei, are there karbita, are there loops holding up this mattress type of entity? Regular beds don't have loops. And if this is a regular bed, why would you assume it has loops? So now the Gemara is back to square one. We thought a dargish is this bed of good fortune, but it's not. So Kiyasa Ravin Amar. When Rava came, he said, 8 lines down in Vav Beis Altula Huma Rabbanan. I asked the Rabbanan Rav Tachliya Bar Rav Shemei. His name was Rav Tachliya Bar Rav. Davishriach was Shukat Tzali. That Rav Tachliya Bar Rav would hang out in the shuk of the leather makers. Va'amar Ali, and he said to me, "My dargish arsa disalo." You know what a dargish is? It's a leather bed. And now, once we're explaining that this dargish is not the regular bed, some form of leather bed, the Gemara digresses for a moment and says, Itmar, says the Gemara, Izeu mita ve'izeu dargish. What is a mita? What is a dargish? Amar Rav Yirmiyah mita misargin al gaba. The mita, they would weave, this is a very primitive box spring with mattress. There was no real mattress, so they would weave the threads over the frame of the mattress, of the frame. Dargish misargin megufa, they would interweave it within the frame itself. So on that, Meisvei asked the Gemara, Kli hates. Me'emasai mekabel tuma. When is a Kli hates? Mekabel tuma comes susceptible to become tamei. Hamid davarisa, bet in a crib. Misha yashifum be'ara dog. When you cover it over with the hide of a fish, a wooden bed frame, they're nervous. It's going to come splinters. They would cover it with, not the hide, but the skin of a fish. Meet the Mr. Al Gabo, but ask the Gemara, I don't understand. If a mita, you would take these bark threads and you would wrap it around the frame. Lovely Shiva Zara dog, why are we worried that it's going to be splintery? But anyways, the frame is going over the mattress, the box spring, the weave is going over the frame. Elaha v'ha migufan. So concludes the Gemara, really dargish, and this other type of bed we attach from within it. Mita ha'ule v'afuki b'bizina, dargish ha'ule v'afuki b'avakta. Says the Gemara, 2 different ways of creating the beds. In a regular bed, the comes out of the side slits where the dargish, it comes out with loops. V'afuki b'avakta, and of course, you have to see a simple picture for this, so we don't have one right now. And I'm Rav Yaakov Aracham, my Rebbe, once on the topic of beds. If we have a bed that has posts on the side, it's a canopy bed, so you can't just flip it over, so you pick it up on this side. Amar Rav Yaakov Aridi, Amar Rav Shmuel ben Levi, Allah Kirshbag, that is indeed the halacha. And we continue. And yes, this last detail, what was the difference between the dargish and the mita, whether the mita, they thread it in and out, whether the dargish, they go in and then out with loops. 2 different ways of creating a bed, and we'll leave it at that. We pick it up with the Mishnah on the second half of Nun Vav Beis. Says the Mishnah, Noidim in a year, if someone makes an enter, he's not going to enter into the city. But the kindness, the Tchum Shaliyah, you'll let her enter the Tchum of the city. I'm not in the city. We know there's a city. Then there's the 2,000 Amos, the Alpayim Amos, and then. So says the Mishnah, if you're not entering the city, but you could, yes, enter the outskirts of the city, the Alpayim Am, the 2,000 Amos. But, whenever you mention, this brings us back to our Gemara, Erevin days, whenever you measure the Tchum, you don't start from the edge of the city, you start from the Iber, literally the pregnancy, the part that protrudes. You start 70 and 3rd Amos outside of the city, then you measure the 2,000. So that you're yes allowed to enter. Even if you made an enter against the city. If someone makes an enter from a house, then he's not allowed to enter from the door frame and inward. So it begins the Gemara trying to figure out what's going on with this ear. Why are you not allowed to enter into the extension, the Ibura, but yes allowed to enter the Tchom in Nalan? So the Gemara assumes that the Ibur, this protruding part, The 70 and 2/3, I think I said a third, the 70 and 2/3 amos is a din of the city itself. Just like you can't enter the city, you can't enter this. So how do we know that? Rav Yechon Damar Cross says a pasuk, Yeshua b'Yericha. It was when Yeshua was in Yericha. My be Yericha. What does it mean he was in Yericha? Even Yericha Mamish? Do you really think Yeshua was in Yericha? Yericha was sealed off. There's no way that Yeshua was actually in Yericha. Must be that Yeshua was in the Iber, and we're considering it when he's in that 70 and 2/3 amos as if he's in the city itself, and that is our raya that the Iber has a din of this city. Answers the Gemara, no. Maybe it means that he was within the Tchum. Answers the Gemara, so it can't be within the Tchum, must be within the Iber, and that is the proof that Yeshua was in the Iber, that the Iber has the same din, that 70 and 2/3 amos is din of city itself, just like you can't enter the city, I can't enter the extension, but I can yes enter the Apayim Mama of the Tchum. We'll pick it up from Nedarim and Abayis in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.